Children can use drawing as a way to express their feelings or emotions that they do not fully understand. Simply put, children draw what is familiar to them. For example, if a child draws a picture of himself holding the hand of a stranger, it could mean that something significant is happening in his life. The drawings I will show you, made by children, are real, and behind them lie strange and frightening stories. But the names of the parents and children are often changed. So, let's begin with the first story, or rather, the first drawing. Martin and his wife had 2 children, a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. Martin shared with his wife some strange and unsettling things they had recently discovered. Their daughter, whom we will call Jess, loved drawing very much, so they gave her all the art supplies she needed to keep her quiet and happily occupied for hours. Jess had a backpack full of different art materials, regular pencils, colored pencils, crayons, watercolor paints, oil pastels, and more. She also had a pile of drawings in her room and inside her bag. Most of these drawings were normal and innocent. But one day, Martin, the father, found a drawing in Jess's room that surprised him. It showed an unknown woman holding Jess's hand, but this woman did not look like his blonde wife. Her skin tone was slightly darker, almost olive. Curious, Martin asked his daughter, "Who is this lady, sweetheart?" Jess replied, "She's the lady who visits me sometimes." Martin assumed his daughter had an imaginary friend, like most children, and asked, "And what's your friend's name?" Jess answered, "Her name is Lucy." As soon as the father heard the name, something clicked in his memory, and he felt uneasy. He took the drawing to his wife and asked her if the woman looked like her sister. At first, his wife brushed it off, saying, "It could be anyone." But when Martin told her that Jess had said her name was Lucy, his wife froze in terror, because Lucy was the name of her late sister, who had died long before their children were born. The couple hurried back to Jess's room and asked her, "Who is this, Jess? Is it really Lucy?" Jess nodded and said, "Yes, she visits me sometimes." They tried to get more details from her, asking when Lucy visited and what they talked about. Jess replied that Lucy sometimes came at night when she was busy drawing. The mother asked her daughter to draw another picture of Lucy next time, but this time with more details. Jess agreed. From then on, Martin and his wife left Jess's door slightly open at night so they could hear if she was talking to anyone. Several nights later, while they were in the kitchen, they heard Jess speaking to someone inside her room. They quietly approached and listened. There were long pauses between Jess's words, but it was clear she was answering someone they could not hear. At one point, Jess said, "They asked about you when they saw my picture of you, and they want me to draw you again." Martin and his wife rushed into the room and asked Jess if she was speaking to Lucy again. She nodded, "Yes." They asked, "Where is Lucy now?" Jess looked around the room, then pointed to a corner and said, "She's standing right there." Martin and his wife looked, but saw nothing, though both agreed they felt something unsettling in the room. Calmly, the mother told Jess, "Draw Lucy again now, but this time with full details." Jess said, "Okay, Mommy." The couple left the room. Jess stayed quiet after that, but soon called her mother back in. When they returned, Jess had drawn a new picture. This time, the drawing showed Lucy in detail. She had blue eyes, a small mole above her lip, and she was wearing a white dress. The shocking part was that Lucy had actually been buried in a white dress, and she did have blue eyes and a mole above her lip. Jess's mother had not been close to her late sister, and all she remembered was briefly attending her funeral. Jess had never heard about her aunt, nor were there any photos of her in the house. The parents then told Jess not to talk to Lucy again, not because Lucy had done anything harmful, but because the whole thing terrified them. Later, they brought a priest to bless the house and ask any spirits to leave in peace. According to Martin, nothing strange happened afterward. In another elementary school, a teacher organized an activity called Draw and Tell, where children drew something meaningful to them and then explained it. This was with a class of 3rd graders. Most children drew pictures of their families, pets, or other familiar things. But one boy drew what looked like fire. The whole page was just flames. Other kids at his table laughed at him. When the teacher noticed, she walked over and asked, "Why are you drawing fire?" "You were supposed to draw something meaningful to you," the boy replied. "I know, but I'm not finished yet." So the teacher let him continue. When most students had finished, she returned and saw that he had added a house in the middle of the flames. The teacher then took him into the hallway with his drawing and asked, "Why are you drawing a burning house?" "This doesn't fit the activity," the boy answered. "Of course it does." She asked, "Then what does this drawing mean?" The boy said, "That's the house my parents tried to burn me in while I was inside." The teacher was stunned and didn't know what to say. She kept the drawing, sent the boy back to class, and cancelled the rest of the activity. She took a photo of the drawing on her phone so she would never forget. The next story comes from parents who wanted to stay anonymous. We'll call them Brad and Jane, and their daughter Molly, who was 5 years old at the time. According to Brad, Molly was a quiet and polite little girl. What made this story scarier was that Brad and Jane's bedroom was right next to Molly's. The strange events began one night when Molly came into their room, saying she was scared because there was a monster in her closet. Brad took her back, opened the closet, and showed her there were no monsters. But the next night, Molly came again, saying the same thing. This time, her parents let her sleep in their bed. The following day, Molly drew a picture of the monster she claimed to see and showed it to her father. He admitted that the drawing scared him, but assumed it was just a child's imagination. Everything changed on another night when Brad and Jane woke up to Molly screaming. They rushed in and found her crying, "I'm bleeding." She lifted her shirt to show scratch marks all over her back. Molly insisted the monster had done it. Brad searched the room and the whole house, but found nothing. They eventually tried to convince themselves Molly had scratched herself by accident. Still, as the events continued, it became harder to dismiss them. Molly never changed her story. The monster had scratched her. To make her feel safe, Brad and Jane moved her to a different bedroom. After that, Molly only came into their room twice more, but both times she said she hadn't seen the monster again, though she was still scared. Fortunately, she was never harmed physically again. The next picture and story come from a girl named Giovanna. She had found this drawing on her desk. her 7-year-old brother often used her desk to draw. What struck her as odd was that this time he left the drawing on her desk instead of hiding it or taking it with him. At first glance, it looked like an innocent family picture drawn by a child, but in the corner of the paper, there was a strange figure coloured entirely in black, with the words, "The man who takes," written beside it. For days, Giovanna didn't notice the figure, but when she looked closer, she realised the dark man was sitting on a swing. The family didn't own a swing, nor had her brother ever asked for one. Beneath the dark figure were lines that looked like a window or a door drawn on the ground, as if intentionally added. Giovanna thought this might be a clue to something real, so she searched their garden for any hidden doors or windows, but found nothing. Days later, while washing her face in the bathroom near her brother's room, she heard him laughing and talking. She thought he was playing alone, but when she peeked inside, she saw him sitting on the floor talking to something under the bed. When she suddenly opened the door, he jumped onto the bed, staring at the TV, pretending he wasn't doing anything. When Giovanna asked him whom he had been speaking to, he denied talking to anyone. She let it go and went to bed. The next morning, her brother woke up holding an empty cup and asked her to fill it with chocolate milk. Giovanna went downstairs, filled the cup, and returned with breakfast. She found him asleep, so she woke him and handed him the cup. But he insisted he had never asked for it. She knew he had asked, so she left the cup beside him. That night, around 4 a.m., Giovanna awoke to hear her brother speaking again. She walked down the hallway to his room and peeked inside. The last thing she remembered was hearing him talking to someone and seeing a black shadow in the room. The next thing she knew, she woke up in her own bed the next morning, not remembering when she had fallen asleep. When she confronted her brother, he denied talking to anyone. But when Giovanna told her parents about the drawing and what she had seen, they asked him about it. He said the man in the picture was the man who takes things and brings them back, adding, "He's my best friend. He even gives me red berries. I think they're called cranberries." But then he never came back again. Giovanna still doesn't know if what she saw that night was a dream or not, but she insists she remembers it clearly and that it wasn't a dream. If it wasn't, then she has no idea what happened after she saw the shadow in his room, or how she ended up back in bed. Either way, her brother never spoke again about the man who takes and returns. And that's it. If you enjoyed these stories or this video, don't forget to like and share from all your accounts on social media. Hopefully, I won't take too long before bringing you more stories next time. See you soon, and goodbye.